Hi friends, I'm Niharika and this is Killer Literature. In the first episode of this series, I talked about some of the general tips for securing a top grade in IGCSE Literature. Be sure to check that out too. Today, we're going to dive into the prose that I studied, that is Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Personally, I had a hard time finding comprehensive resources online when I was studying this text. So I certainly hope that this video is useful for you. So in this video and the upcoming videos as well, I am going to take you through some of the essays that I have written on the topic of the characters and themes of Purple Hibiscus. So there are lots of quotes that are discussed in these essays. It's not mandatory to use every single one of them. Just choose the best ones for yours and go ahead. So let's start with this one. The question we're going to be focusing on is, to what extent does Adichie present Mama as a strong woman? So it is essentially a character analysis of Mama. Let's begin. In the beautiful yet harrowing novel Purple Hibiscus, Adichie vividly presents Mama as a turbulent character, showing certain moments of silent strength, but mostly an underlying weakness due to her inability to speak against violence. By crafting her use of ambiguous language, sentence structures and symbols, and overall attitudes and perplexing actions, Adichie continually transforms Mama, giving her a fluctuating persona open to interpretation. So right off the bat, we can see we have given an answer to the question of how strong a woman is Mama over here as highlighted. So we are directly telling the examiner our answer, and this is what we're going to be focusing on throughout the essay. And next, you can see a sort of table of contents down here. So it's kind of like just letting the examiner know how our essay is going to go and what are all the points we'll be touching upon. This is definitely getting us some points for AO3 because we have a really strong introduction and it's giving some clear organization to our essay. Okay, let's go with the first paragraph. Firstly, within this extract, Adichie illustrates the ambiguity in Mama's character following the event of the murder, which could depict strength or weakness depending on perspective. Her words and movements are described as calm and slow, and the repetition of these adjectives emphasize that she was a self-controlled and well-composed individual with a concrete knowledge of what had to be done to save her children. Okay, guys, so I'm just going to stop there. Let's look at the beginning sentence. As you can see, this is also showing some clear organization in our paragraphs because we are letting the examiner know what is the topic of this paragraph. Well, we are going to be talking about what she was like after the murder. Next, we have our first quote, calm and slow. And we also have the techniques that is used here. So this is getting some points for AO2 now. And obviously the analysis of this technique is also getting us points. Next, her understanding and admission that sly defiance and retaliated violence against Papa was necessary if she wanted to support her children signifies her strong mental composure. Okay, this is going to get us back to AO1, which is about presenting different ideas about the text. So this is, of course, our first idea, which we are mentioning. So AO1. Mama turns the metaphorically toxic love in the burning love sips of Papa's tea into a literal poison to punish Papa as revenge, indicating her cunning strength. Additionally, Mama moves away from her children's embrace, which could depict that she doesn't require her children's support or love to uphold her strong character. Notably, Adichie employs the rain raging outside as a pathetic fallacy for chaos and violence, as mirrored by the recent events in the Achike household. So, as Mama shut the louvres to keep the rain from splashing into the house, Adichie may be using a metaphor to connote how Mama tries to shield her children from the outside destruction, again supporting the idea of her strength. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. So now that we've introduced more quotes and more ideas from different parts of the text, not just from this extract, we are again leaning towards AO1. But notably is what is the most important here is about this rain idea. So this is something really unique, and we have used two techniques here, that's pathetic fallacy and metaphor. So again, AO2. And another thing to note here is that you are connecting various ideas, like this one quote about the rain and another quote about how she shut the Louvre. So since you're interconnecting different things together, it is certainly getting you more marks for AO1. Now we're moving on to the next paragraph. Alternatively, one could interpret Mama's calm and slow actions as denoting to her sense of delirium, unable to cope with the reality of her actions. The adjective slow could reflect her deteriorating mind or sense of shock that has left her weak, while her actions of moving away from her children could symbolize her return to the reserved state and her emotional distancing from her children at the time they need her most, thereby allowing Adichie to show Mama's troubled state and lack of strength. Moreover, when the police arrive, she is dumbfaced while Judge is quick to pose as the criminal, as he did not wait for questions, the quote lending its rapid sense of time. The stark contrast in Mama's approach, when alone and in front of the police, almost convinces the reader that she deliberately did not take responsibility. She is not strong enough to admit her fault and protect her son. Okay, guys, so this paragraph is really powerful because it's loaded with alternative interpretations of every quote that we talked about in the previous paragraph. Since you're signposting to the examiner with the word alternatively, they're for sure going to give you more marks for AO1, which deals with using and debating upon your own ideas. And then, of course, we have our analysis with adjective and what else do we have? Yeah, basically. And next, we keep on linking to other quotes in the same extract. So again, more AO2 points because we're using many quotes. And notice how each paragraph ends with a sort of answer back to the main question. We are always linking back to, is she strong enough or is she not strong enough? So again, AO3, organization. Moving on to the next paragraph. Since the exposition of the novel, Adichie continually illuminates different sides to Mama, allowing readers to interpret a mix of strength and weakness in her character. Kambali describes how Mama spoke the way a bird eats in small amounts. By using a metaphor likening Mama to a bird, Adichie accentuates her silence, but the juxtaposition between how birds symbolize freedom and the small amount that indicates Mama's fear of speaking depicts her subservient attitude. Mama's inability to speak up to Papa's actions or even speak to her children hints at her weakness. Furthermore, Mama constantly uses euphemisms for Papa's violence in her rare speech. When she miscarries, she tells Kambali that there has been an accident, the noun accident being an understatement for the true brutality Papa inflicted on her. She tries to conceal the fact her husband is beating her from her children. Her apparent stoicism could either show strength in protecting her children or her weakness in that she doesn't take action for so long. Okay, so there's a lot going on in this paragraph. First of all, we're signposting to the examiner and saying, okay, I've stopped analyzing this extract and I'm going to go to different parts of the novel. Again, organization points, AO3. Next, we have a couple of quotes here, and the first quote especially has a lot of in-depth analysis. With a metaphor and juxtaposition, it really shows you're bringing unique interpretations, so AO2. And notice once we have finished analyzing these quotes, we're again coming back to the question and saying, okay, now this is showing subservience or weakness. We have a few more techniques here, euphemisms, noun, understatement. And again, we repeat all of these steps and again end with another answer to the question that she is stoic. However, in the last sentence, it's really quite nice because you're showing alternative interpretations all in one sentence. So see how it says either strength in protecting or weakness because she doesn't take action for so long. So that's a really cool way to put a lot of things in one sentence. Next paragraph. Further domestic violence from Papa's side tips Mama over the edge and purges her into further weakness. When Mama visits Auntie Ifeoma, Kambali further describes Mama with a wrapper that seems so loose it would slip off. Here, her unkempt clothing serves as a metaphor for her unsteady and murky mental state. She's also described as being possessed by a different demon, which is a hyperbole. It contrasts the divine nature of God and depicts how the abuse has completely deteriorated her mindset. The word possessed in particular suggests that her following actions are not carried out by her own conscience. Therefore, we can argue that the murder was an impulsive act of desperation, not a show of confidence or strength. Okay, so even though this is a short paragraph, it packs in all the assessment objectives. When you first tell the examiner when Mama visits Auntie Fioma, this kind of like giving timestamps really lets them know that you're being organized and, kind of gives them an idea of which part of the novel you're talking about. And there's only one or two quotes used here, but lots of techniques. So again, packing in more points for AO2. And finally, the ending, particularly by using the phrase "we can argue," you are packing in points for AO1 and really showing them that you are engaging with the text and completely debating with the ideas that it is giving paragraph. The final tipping point for Mama is when her beloved figurines break. Figurines are a symbol for Mama's delicate and fragile nature. However, cleaning the figurines becomes a euphemism for Papa's violence, and it's her way of staying strong even through the hardships. When the figurines break and she refuses to replace them, it can symbolize her final acceptance of reality and building up her strength. However, it may also symbolize how, as her only means of staying strong is broken, her personality is broken, indicating her weakness. Okay, so we are having two sides here. We are talking about both her strength and her weakness, how figurines can represent them both, right? So once we're done analyzing the figurines in terms of AO2 and finding the techniques used here, we are seeing how on one hand she is staying strong, and that is answering the question, yes, she is a strong woman. But on the other hand, it also could symbolize that something is now missing from her life, and we are answering the question and saying, no, maybe she isn't a strong woman after all. So again, AO1. This next paragraph also follows on the idea of having two different sides and constantly debating, is she strong or is she weak? So let's go through it. Mama has clearly realized that Jaja's imprisonment is attributed to her actions. For example, Kambli mentions that Mama does not talk about the huge checks that they have written for bribes. Okay. The hyperbole, huge checks, depicts that Mama has taken strident measures to make up for a mistake. And this can show strength for Jaja, for Jaja's sake. However, the negation in the statement, she does not talk about them, hints at her guilt for not having confessed of the crime sooner. Her evident late self-realization raises the question of why she let Jaja take the blame in the first place, and why she didn't take the necessary actions at the right time. Perhaps her weak sense of foresight disabled her from doing so. So you see how one quote can be interpreted in very two different ways. On one hand, it could be like her trying to make up for her mistake, but on the other hand, there's this sort of kind of vibe of guilt that is coming out from it. So being able to argue like this clearly will show that you're answering the question, constantly debating on it. And now we're at our final paragraph, the conclusion. To conclude, Adichie vividly presents the dichotomy within Mama's intricate character. Her actions are always at either of the two extremes, completely dismissive or cruelly strong, but never achieving the tactful middle ground. Adichie's novel is a feminist work that challenges the tendency of men to dehumanize women, and Mama exposes the African concept of an ideal woman, one who stays silent in the face of humiliation, victimization, and brutality. Contextually, Nigeria is known to be a patriarchal society, so to a native audience, Mama's subservience would be expected and accepted, while her sudden uproar is shocking. Her lack of consistency in showing the kind of fortitude in committing the murder means that we cannot support Mama's overall strength. Okay, now this is a very strong conclusion because A, you are answering the question at both the first sentence and the last sentence. In the first sentence, you're telling that she shows both she shows times of both strength and weakness. But at the end, you're finally concluding and saying, okay, examiner, out of all the evidence that I've just showed you, I am finally arguing that she is not strong at all. In between, it's really good to bring in some context, because that is also very much under AO1, and it shows that you have very good awareness about where this text is placed and about the author who wrote it. So that's a really good thing to add as well. And that is it for this essay, guys. Do remember, it is quite an exhaustive essay. You don't need to use all of the quotes or the ideas. Just pick the best ones and the ones that you can do within the time that you're given, and the ones that you can write really comfortably and really quickly. So that is it for today. I will be sharing more of my essays on the different characters and themes in Purple Hibiscus. So please stay tuned for that. Thank you very much.